The Black Forest is more than a forest. Long before it was settled, it was a borderland, a threshold, a space entered with caution or avoided altogether. Before roads and maps existed, people moved through these valleys and highlands. What remained were traces, in names, and in stories passed on only behind closed hands. The Celts knew this land. The Romans went around it. Even after Christianization, the old sites deep within the forest continued to draw people back. In the area around the municipality of Baiersbronn, such sites still exist today. Quiet, unassuming, yet filled with tension. This film is an invitation to walk among a few of these places, not to explain, but to pause, to follow signs, to remain with what does not resolve. The forest thins at the edge of the trees, an overgrown meadow, quiet and unassuming. A hollow shaped by ice, once an ancient cirque, long since infilled and reclaimed by vegetation. A solitary giant stone stands apart, the Pudelstein. Geologically, there is an explanation. At the end of the last glaciation, compacted fern and ice carried this block down the slope into the basin of an ancient cirque. When the ice melted, the boulder remained. For those who came here long before any such explanation existed, the stone was already charged with meaning. Its isolation, its fractured form, its position where forest gives way to open ground. In older stories, the stone was not moved by ice, but by force. By the fists of the wild man, a giant riding with Odin's or Wotan's host. The wandering procession of the dead at midwinter. According to these stories, this host was said to pass through the land during the 12 dark nights between December 25th and January 6th, a time outside the ordinary year when boundaries between the living and the dead, between the human world and the unseen, were thought to loosen. The stone was hurled down, struck, and split. Rocks fractured in this way appear again and again at places once regarded as significant. Among Celts, among early Germanic peoples, the Alemanni. Places where offerings may have been made. Places later avoided, condemned, and redefined by the Church. Whether the Pudelstein was such a site cannot be proven, but the layers remain. A possible natural process, a mythic explanation, and the persistent sense that this stone was never just a stone. Then there is the name, Pudelstein. At first, it sounds harmless, almost playful, out of place in a landscape shaped by ice, death, and old fears. But the poodle of these stories is not a pet, not a companion. In the local tale, a poodle appears only at night, only in moonlight, guarding what is said to be hidden here, a cache of ritual objects, things no longer meant to be seen. In older traditions, dogs stand at thresholds, at graves, at crossings, between worlds. They do not possess what they guard. They mark the boundary. Long before the poodle became a symbol of something tame, it was linked to darker roles. In Goethe's Faust, Mephistopheles enters the story in the shape of a black poodle, unnoticed at first, revealing itself only later. What once guarded the sacred is reinterpreted, reduced, made suspect. A watcher becomes a warning. A threshold becomes a taboo. The poodle remains, not as something harmless, but as a sign that this place was never fully neutralized. Not erased, just redefined. On the path toward the Priorstein, the next place that may reach back beyond written memory, we pass a different kind of trace. An old pine tar kiln. Not a sacred site in itself, but a reminder of how closely life in the Black Forest was once tied to its resources. Here, resin-rich pine wood was slowly heated, sealed from open flame, until it released tar, oils, and pitch. Substances used to waterproof, to heal, to preserve. This was hard work. Days of controlled fire, careful watching, entire families involved. The forest was not only feared or revered, it was worked, transformed, and depended upon. The path climbs steadily toward the highest point of the ridge. Here, stone gathers once more, not as a single block, but as a group. Weathered sandstone forms rise from the ground, rounded, grooved, marked by time. Seen from a distance, they appear accidental. Closer, their placement feels deliberate. Shallow bowls are worn into their surfaces, basins that collect rain, or something else. Such hollows appear at other ancient sites, often explained by erosion, sometimes dismissed, sometimes quietly avoided. Whether shaped by hands or by long repetition, they draw attention. They invite pause. From here, the land opens. Valleys fall away. Boundaries become visible. It is no coincidence that places like these served as markers, as points of orientation, and perhaps more, long ago. Across the valley, another place with bowl-shaped stones stands opposite, high on a ridge, linked to the Priorstein by legend. And not far away, lines run through the forest, the remains of a mysterious ring wall complex, whose age and origin are unknown. All these places do not seem to stand alone. They may be fragments of something older, a forgotten pattern once laid across the landscape. Let's explore them together in the second part of our journey through the mystical places around Baiersbronn.